Border czar Tom Homan with an urgent and chilling warning for America after an illegal immigrant Joe Biden let in launched a horrific hate crime attack against Jewish people in Colorado.
The Biden administration were bringing people unvetted, handing out work visas like they're candy, while they sat here and planned something bad. We are going to be dealing with this for the next 10 years because of the chaos they created in 4 years. 2 million people paid more to get away. They didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. Why? This scares the hell out of me. I've been doing this for 40 years. It should have scared the hell out of every American what the Biden administration did. This 2 million known gotaways scares the hell out of me. So I'm convinced something's coming unless we can find them.
And now Fox News can confirm the wife and all 5 kids of the suspected terrorist are in ICE custody. And the White House says the family could be deported as soon as tonight. They said, quote, 6 one-way tickets for Mohammed's wife and 5 kids. Final boarding call coming soon. Jesse, you know, the 2 million known gotaways, these are people who came over the border and went out of their way not to be detected. We don't know who they are. We don't know why they're here. We don't know what their goals are being here. Tom Homan says it scares the hell out of him.
And it should. If you were taking a time machine from now to go right after 9/11, and you would say that the Democratic Party let in millions and millions of people from the Middle East, from Africa, China, Venezuela, you would think the party was committing suicide. Or you would think there was a hostile takeover of the United States. Because these same people who were there on 9/11, they're still in power in Washington, they go to 9/11 ceremonies. And then they tweet hashtag never forget. And then they're okay with letting in half the world unchecked. Just because they want the cheap labor, just because they want the new voters. You know, they say, you know, it's different because this guy didn't come across the border. They're still flying him in. And then there's chain migration. So this guy's here. He's got his wife and he's got his 5 kids. And the kids are using our schools. They're using our hospitals. They're jacking up rent. They're jacking up insurance. This is becoming almost as bad as defund the police. Remember how much damage that did to the Democratic Party? And what they're doing to the ICE agents, attacking ICE, I think is going to be the exact same thing what happened to the Democrats with defund the police here.
Yeah, Dana, I think the question that a lot of us still have is why did this happen? You know, you hear Tom Homan say they're literally handing out work visas like candy in the Biden administration to these people. We know that there was just no check at all. They were actually facilitating the entry. Why?
Well, as Abe Greenwald says, and I hate to keep repeating his phrase, but it's much worse than that. Because the work visas, it's one thing, right? But when we would do stories on Fox about the known gotaways, for example, at the White House briefing room, the press secretary would say the border is secure. The Homeland Security Secretary would say the border is secure. Like, you could literally have Mayorkas or Karine Jean-Pierre on TV saying the border is secure and do a split screen and have our cameras at the border, the only media that was there for the most part, showing them. Actually, they're just streaming across. Our ICE agents were overwhelmed. They got into the country, so many gotaways. And thank goodness you have people like Tom Homan who can't sleep, won't sleep for probably 10 years because of what we are dealing with. I also believe that one of the biggest reasons Biden's lost one is this issue, but it's also why they are continuing to have this problem, because who's going to step up and say Mayorkas was wrong, Karine Jean-Pierre was wrong, Biden was wrong. We should never have let that happen. And now I do think that every president since 9/11 has lost sleep over this issue. This is the thing that worries them the most. Like, are we in the right spot? Are we finding them? And because you have the anti-Semitism that is growing on top of all of this, and the global intifada is now here inside the borders, it makes it much more difficult. So we have to give law enforcement and the intelligence community everything that they need to try to protect people who are vulnerable.
Yeah. And, you know, Greg, this guy, I think as Jesse pointed out, maybe he didn't come across the border, but he overstayed a work visa. He was here illegally. This is just another example, I think, of someone who should never have been here to commit this crime, yet here he was.
Kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the A block about the idea that, you know, this is different than the usual discussed with a party. Remember, Mayorkas also lied to the American people about Biden's mental state. I believe he said that he couldn't keep up with them.
Right.
So, I mean, even Harold's laughing. But when you think about it, the border accurately reflected Joe's mental state. chaos, decline, and neglect. And as a result, a lot of people died. They died at the hands of criminals. And you have attacks like this, and the media is complicit because we were doing the border every day, so much so we were sick of it. And every other network did not cover it. They mocked us. I'm sure Chris Van Allen, is that his name? He's going to probably hop on a plane to meet with this guy's, wife and kids. Just don't order the cocktails. But I love with Homan, there is no screwing around. There's no phony virtue signaling. There's no self-important activism. There's no false empathy or false compassion. You may have, as a Democrat, you may worry about his methods, but you won't worry about him not doing his job. He's moving fast because he has to play catch up. This is like Trump took over a property that's been in disrepair, overrun by squatters. It's not going to be safe overnight.
Harold, you look at this guy, the Boulder suspect here, and they say he was a lone wolf, meaning, he wasn't part of a bigger network or anything like that. But you see this on the heels of this D.C. shooting of the Jewish couple. You see this, in conjunction with all this anti-Semitism boiling over on college campuses. I think a lot of people are feeling very upset and very nervous right now, and I think rightly so.
No, I would agree. We've covered this, rightly so, and I hope this is a story we continue to cover because it has two, I think, important aspects. One is you touched on it well, Laura, the anti-Semitism, and two is the deportations we're trying to do. I tried to say yesterday, I think Tom Homan means well, and I think, again, I've said before, I think he looks oftentimes like he's trying out for a Clint Eastwood movie, and that's fine. But we ought to be, instead of blaming Biden and blaming Obama and blaming Clinton, you're in charge now. I hope that you look at two things to try to get the crime thing right, because anti-Semitism, the deportations are all revolving around awful crimes that are being committed. Use and collaborate with local law enforcement. They're the ones that have all the information about a lot of these people. And two, use AI to help sort through this. I want every guy in this country, or woman in this country, or kid in this country who's related to somebody like this guy, who's been planning this for a year to kill Jewish people. He was waiting for his kids to get out of the house so he could do it. I want us to find, using AI and using every possible lead we can, where these people are, and let them be a part of that first group you want to kick out as well. I'm one Democrat who will say send them wherever you want to send them. But let's stop blaming everybody, and the tone, the disposition. Sometimes I think he and Stephen Miller, who I think is probably a well-meaning guy, work with people. Work with local law enforcement and use every tool at your disposal to try to prevent, and let alone limit, but not try to prevent these type of awful, tragic things from happening around our country, particularly with people who are here illegally.
But Harold, the tone is part of the package.
It might be, but that's not my tone.
It's like, I don't mind Homan. Like, I agree, Homan can come off rough, but man, that's who he is, and I want that.
That's fine, but then do the job.
Have you seen the number of illegals?
Lowest number in the history of America.
But then don't blame Biden.
We have to blame Biden. Because there needs to be
retribution.
There needs to be justice.
And it can't happen again.
I'm not going to rest until you're behind bars.
Right. Do you want me to? What if I just blamed whites in the 60s and the 70s and never forgave anybody? I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I get the hook.
I've forgiven whites, Harold. I have forgiven them.
I forgive you.
It took me a long time.
I forgive you every night I'm on this show. I understand. But my only point is, use every tool to try to make sure we fight, because there are a lot more of these guys out there, I think. And I want to try to prevent these stories.
They do want to work with local law enforcement. One of the problems is, like, for example, Eric Adams here, he wants to work with ICE, but they're not allowed.
They're not helping,
because of sanctuary cities.
That's the biggest problem.
Right, but if you walk in, they will. They're not going to let you just set up and go into restaurants and they differ there. I don't mind some of that, but if you tell them, we know there's a guy named this guy, and a woman here, and a guy there, here's where they're on this list because we've used this, we need to be able to find them, help us. You have other information on them. That's all I'm saying. I think they think they're tools we should be using.
Harold's ready to go.
I'm
love
ready.
it.
Look,
all right.
Clint Eastwood, let's go.
Here we go. Coming up. Why are liberals so miserable while conservatives are having the time of their life?
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.